Hello everyone and welcome back to another Bulk Mythic MTG YouTube video. And today we're going to be cracking open that Kaldheim set boosters box. I've decided there are 30 booster packs in this box, so we're going to do this in 5 videos of 6 booster packs, just so that the videos don't get too long and I have plenty of time to talk about the cards that I like as I open them up. Quick shout out again to TC's Rockets, the local game store that I was able to purchase this product from. They have an online store that you can check out, order for pickup in store, or order for curbs or ship to you. And you could also go in there, check out what comics, toys, collectibles, magic, and other products that they have available to you should you choose. So without further ado, we'll go ahead, pull these custom tokens out of the way that they were so gracious as to gift to me with the Bio Box promo that they had, and we'll go ahead and open this guy up. So the set boosters, again, these are the booster packs that are seated a little bit differently than the traditional booster packs, now called draft boosters. So these are the ones that are designed specifically to crack open and start building your collection. And as a player who tries to complete sets as they come out, this is a product that I'm super excited about. I still purchased the draft booster boxes and set those on a shelf for a time that I can actually do drafts, because I do enjoy drafting. But right now, when it comes to just being able to open up product and have a good time checking out the cards, this is the product to do so with. Inside these boxes, you have a higher probability of rares. You have guaranteed foils. You have the neat little art cards, so on and so forth, as well as the different showcase style frames. In this set, it's the Viking style carvings that they'll have around the cards. So we'll go ahead and just grab 6 booster packs out real quick and set the box off to the side and see what we get in this first round here. Go ahead and tuck this out of the way for future videos. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we go. Let's see what we get out of these. Now, this set is one that is highly flavorful with the Viking Nordic theme. So we'll start out here with our art card. Again, we may find a couple in this box that have the foil signature of the artist on them, which are actually turning out to be highly collectible. So we'll see how that goes. And then you're guaranteed 1 Snowland. And let's see what else we get here. Frostbite, which is the common red burn spell. Pilfering Hawk. So the first little group here is going to be any number of commons and uncommons, I think to a total of 7 or 8 cards. All the commons will be linked together, and all the uncommons will be linked together in a theme. So here we have 5 commons, and then moving into the uncommons, we have 3. So it's a total of 8 commons and uncommons that should be linked thematically together. Then we have our first wild card spot, which is Rise of the Dreadmarn. So this is a 2 generic and a black rare instant. Create X number of 2/2 black zombie berserker tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that died this turn. It has Foretell of a black. So that card might make it into my Grixis zombie deck. I don't know. We'll see if it slots in there pretty well. Sounds pretty good to me. I don't know if you're sacrificing, trading off in combat, all that kind of fun stuff. And then our showcase frame here is Svella Ice Shaper, which is a generic red and a green for a 2/4 legendary snow creature troll warrior. And it has the activate ability of 3 generic and tap it to create a colorless snow artifact token named Icy Manolith. And that Icy Manolith has the ability to tap and add 1 mana of any color. And then you can pay 6 generic, a red, and a green to tap and look at the top 4 cards of your library, cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So a little bit of a tutor ish filtering, card filtering ability there on the end too. But for 8 mana, that's pretty expensive. And then we have our foil Giant's Amulet. And a treasure token. So only one rare there so far. Let's see what else we're going to pull out of here. Some of these packs can have up to 3 or 4 rares in them, depending on the different slots. So there's our art card. We have our snow-covered swamp. And then it looks like our commons are in an artifact / rune theme. We're going to move these over here for artifacts. I like to sort by color just because it makes it easier. In the end, what I do with these is sort them by collector number and end up putting them into a binder, at least one of each. So by sorting them by color, it makes it a lot easier later on to sort them by collector number, because the collector numbers are also in color order. So let's see. We have Usher the Fallen, Boast, and a Frenzied Raider. And then we have our first rare, Faceless Haven, is a snowland. Tap to add 1 colorless mana, and you can pay 3 snow, and it becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance in all creature types until end of turn, still a land. So that's the little man land for the set, a Shimmer Drift Veil. And then our foil is Feed the Serpent, which is the common removal card, but it exiles a creature or a planeswalker, which is for 4 mana. It's pretty powerful. Definitely a first pick in Limited for sure. Exiling a planeswalker on an instant spell is something you don't see very often at all. So looking here again, a few commons. Nothing too crazy yet. And then we have Nafri, the Betrayer King. So this is 3 generic, a blue and a black, for a 4/3 snow creature zombie wizards. He is legendary, and it says other snow zombie and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1. Pay 3 snow to return Nafri from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So he has his own built-in recursion. So 5 mana 4/3 isn't necessarily above rate, but to have the snow and zombie lord ability in there and recursion seems like a pretty powerful card to me. Follow the Imposter. We have a Spirit of Aldergard, is a 0/4 snow creature bear spirit. And when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a snow land, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library. And then it gets +1/+0 for each other snow permanent you control. So snow permanent meaning snow lands, snow creatures, any other permanent that has the super type of snow. And then our rare is the Bears of Litjara. So the bear card here creates a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with changeling. So guess what? It is a bear because it has all creature types. And that says any number of target shapeshifter creatures you control have base power and toughness 4/4 on chapter 2. That's a permanent change to their power and toughness. And then choose up to 1 target creature or planeswalker, each creature with power 4 or greater you control, deal damage equal to their power to that permanent. So if you're in the Changelings deck, it's a pretty good spell right there. And then a snow-covered forest. And then, so these cards here, I didn't talk about them before. They're a token. They have a magic back on them. What they're for is a modal double-faced cards. You can literally just write the 2 faces on here and make notes as to what they do. And because it has a magic back, you can play with this in your deck instead of the actual card if you don't have sleeves, is really what it's there for. Or if your sleeves aren't opaque enough to keep from seeing the back side of the card through it. You know, most everybody plays with sleeves these days, and the sleeve technology has gotten a lot better. They're not super necessary. But the other interesting thing about those tokens is they're numbered 1 through 9. So if you get a binder page and you put them into the binder in order. The watermark, which is kind of difficult to see on the camera here, but the border of it, and then behind the space is some art that actually creates a picture from the marquee or the theme art of the set. So here's Savala Ice Shaper, another troll warrior like we had before. This time in the normal sleeve, or the normal art. And then we have Ascendant Spirit. This has got a lot of hype behind it right now. It's a 1-mana 1/1 snow creature spirit, but it has a version of a level up mechanic. So 2 snow, it becomes a spirit warrior that's a 2/3. 3 snow after that. If it is a warrior, then you put a flying counter on it, and it gains power and toughness 4/4. And then if it's also a creature type angel, and then if it is an angel, you can pay 4 mana to put 2+1/+1 counters on it, and it gains the text whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So by the time you've activated the third ability one time, you have a 6/6 flying warrior spirit angel that draws a card if it deals damage. And then that last ability you can stack. So you can add more counters. You can add more lines of text that say draw a card, and it kind of can get out of hand from there if they don't remove it. And then we have Frost Augur here, which is a 1-mana 1/2 with snow and tap. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a snow card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. So it's basically, if you're playing a snow deck, reveal the top card of your library and draw it. And then we have Glittering Frost Foil, which is the ramp land enchantment with fixing. So a lot of people have been talking about the foils. Depending on which batch you get, it's kind of difficult to tell if they are foiled or not. And it wouldn't surprise me, because I really haven't noticed. There's supposed to be one in every pack. If I've just like blown right over a foil card, like here's Feed the Serpent, you can kind of tell it's a foil. But the foiling doesn't seem to be very heavy in these packs, especially the collector boosters, which is a little bit weird. This is one of the Japanese boxes. You can tell because there's a stamp on the back side of the box that actually says made in Japan. The other ones will say where they're printed. But for some reason, they aren't like very heavily foiled. So Glimpse the Cosmos is a new Anticipate in the set. So 1 in a blue. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand. The rest of the bottom of your library in any order. As long as you control a giant, you may cast Glimpse of the Cosmos from your graveyard by paying a blue rather than paying its mana cost. If you do so, then exile it once it resolves. So early game helps you either get to the mana to cast a giant or help you find a giant, and then you can flash it back essentially from the graveyard if you do have the giant. And speaking of giants, here's Agar the Freezing Flame, a generic, a blue and a red for a legendary creature giant wizard that's a 3/3. So 3 mana 3/3, whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage. If a giant, a wizard, or a spell you control dealt that damage, you draw a card. So basically, if, say, Agar here attacks and gets blocked by a 2/2, that 2/2 would then take 3 damage. That 1 extra damage is excess, and you would get to draw a card. Same thing with your other giants, your wizards, your burn spells. If your burn spells are considered excess or more than what would be required to destroy the creature, so on and so forth. And here's the Invasion of the Giants saga. It is Chapter 1, Scry 2, so it's an Is It, so blue and a red. Chapter 1, Scry 2. Chapter 2, draw a card, then reveal a giant from your hand. When you do, it deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. And then Chapter 3 is the next giant. You cast this turn, cost 2 less to cast. So, not too bad for a 2-drop, because it's going to help you get to that giant if you have it, if you don't have it yet with that scry, and then make it much easier for you to cast it by the 3rd chapter or turn 4. And then our rare here is Toski, the Bearer of Secrets, the Squirrel. All right. It's a 4-mana 1/1. Doesn't sound too exciting yet, except it cannot be countered. It is indestructible, and it attacks each combat if able. And then when a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So any creature dealing combat damage to a player draws a card. And this guy is going to get in every single turn because he says so. And then another Glittering Frost. And we have a foil rare here. It is Cosima, God of the Voyage. 2 generic and a blue for legendary creature god. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile Cosima. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a Voyage counter on it. And if you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, and draw X cards, where X is the number of Voyage counters on it. So essentially, if you exile it with this ability, the longer you leave it in exile, the more value it generates when it returns. And then the back side of it is a vehicle, which is the Omen Keel, or the Omen Keel vehicle, legendary artifact, 3/3 with crew 1. And it says whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library, and you may pay lands from among those as long as they remain exiled. So with this one, you can play the lands from your opponent's exile that got there with this ability, even after this card leaves play, because that text says for as long as the cards remain exiled, not for as long as Omen Keel remains on the battlefield. So that's pretty cool. It does not, however, increase per turn. So if you play an opponent's land from exile, you cannot also play one from your hand unless another ability grants you the opportunity to play an additional land in a turn. There's the World Tree art right there. And then we have a foil Snowfield Sinkhole, which is the dual colored snowland. It's a plain swamp, so it taps for either a white or a black, enters the battlefield tapped. Looks like a pretty strong white theme here. And then here's Raven's Warning, which is a rare saga, a generic white and a blue. It's chapter 1 is create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying and gain 2 life. Chapter 2 is whenever one or more creatures you control with flying deal combat damage to a player this turn, look at that player's hand and draw a card. So it gives you a flyer. And the cool thing about that is flyers have evasion. So if you get in with a flyer, you get to see what your opponent has in hand, and you get to draw an extra card. And you get to draw more cards if you have more flyers. Chapter 3 is you may put a card you own from outside the game on top of your library. So in classic terms or modern terms, outside the game means your sideboard. So if you're playing this in limited, it's every other card that you drafted or opened in that event. And if you're playing this in standard, it is your 15 card sideboard that you can go and grab a card from, put on top of your library to draw next turn. And then another rare here is Magda, the Brazen Outlaw. Legendary creature, Dwarf Berserker. It is a dwarf lord, but as dwarves are only half as tall, it only has half of the buff. So it's +1/+0 for other dwarves. And then whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. So it also ramps you if you're attacking with your dwarves or using other tap abilities. Then you can sacrifice 5 treasures to search your library for an artifact or a dragon, put that on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So it also tutors and cheats artifacts and dragons into play if you generate enough tokens, which is pretty cool. And then here we have the Cleaving Reaper. So this is one of the big angels of the set. It's 3 generic and black for an angel berserker with flying and trample. It's a 5/3, and you could pay 3 life to return Cleaving Reaper from your graveyard to your hand. Do this only if you had an angel or berserker enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So that's a pretty interesting card. The angels are in black and white in this set. The berserkers are in black and red in this set. So depending on how you build that, you can definitely set it up so that you can continue to recur this 5/3. And then we do have a card here from the list. It's an artifact equipment, Ruined Stalactite, which is a 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and is every creature type. So it turns your creatures into a changeling with an equip cost of 2. Pretty interesting card there. We'll set the list card off to the side. It looks like it's from, is that Eventide? Not really familiar with that. I wasn't playing at that time, so it's kind of hard to tell for me. I'll have to look that up later. And we'll move our artifact over there. So here's the Volatile Fjord, which is the island and mountain. Get through these commons and uncommons. And then our first rare, In Search of Greatness, is green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost if you don't scry 1. So what you do is essentially whatever the most expensive CMC permanent you have in play, you add 1 to that, and if you have a card in hand that costs that much, you may cast it. If not, you get to scry. So this eventually will peter out if you continue to develop your board with more and more expensive cards, but at least it doesn't cap and do nothing. You always have that scry, which is pretty good. We have our first pathway here. So the last 4 of the cycle of 10 pathways are printed in this set. This is the white-blue one. So the front face is a land that taps for a white. The back face taps for a blue. So in your deck, in your library, and everywhere else except for the stack and the battlefield, it is a henge gate pathway. And since lands don't enter using the stack, then this kind of skips that step. But you choose when you put it into play which side you want to play it on. Then once it's on the battlefield, it is whatever side is facing up. And then we have the Blizzard Brawl fight card, Snow Sorcery. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, the creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn, and then they fight each other. So 1 mana fight card in green with the opportunity of your creature getting indestructible and getting a little bit of pump, which is kind of cool. And a foil, Frostpeak Yeti. So these foils are actually pretty blaring. They look a lot more foiled than some of the openings I've seen. So maybe I got a different batch, but there are some out there people are saying are kind of difficult to tell that they're foiled. And then we do have a minigame card, Base Race. So there are 5 minigames that Wizards has created and put into these packs so that you can do other things with your booster packs other than open them, draft them, or play sealed in case you don't have enough people around or can't gather with enough people to actually play a game. So that's the kind of cool thing here about these. They are pretty interesting. They're usually fairly quick. If the rules fit on the front and the back of a token card, then they can't be too complicated. I haven't played any of them yet, but I'll probably try out a few of them and see how they go. So that's the first set of 6 packs out of this box. To be honest, like the most exciting ones are the pathway here so far and getting Toski, especially in the showcase art. And then we did get 1 list card. So the list cards show up about 1 in every 4 packs. There should be a few more in this box. We'll see what else we get. There's some pretty hot finds in there too. So if you enjoyed the video, please click that like button at the bottom. Check us out on social media and follow the Facebook page. There will be something coming up in the next video about how you can win a pre-release code for Arena from the pre-release pack opening that we opened in the last video. So you can put that in there and get 6 free booster packs in the Arena client. So stay tuned for that in the next video. Make sure you're following the Facebook page because that's going to be part of the eligibility for that sweepstakes. And if you would be so gracious, share with a friend, let everybody else know that we are out here sharing our hobby together.